So we left with St. Alphonsus saying that the good rule is to meditate by preference upon the truths and mysteries which affect us more powerfully and which procure for our soul the most abundant nourishment. Beginners are especially urged to prepare the subject of meditation the night before. So that all authors urge that you, before retiring, you decide what you're going to meditate on the next day. You might do some spiritual reading. That's the healthiest thing to do, is to do some spiritual reading before you, like even in bed, and that'll put you to sleep, as if you don't need something to put you to, or you need something to put you to sleep. But but reading is a great sedative. But it's always, all the authors recommend that. Always striving to recollect themselves concerning the subject before going to bed and after rising. So keeping your mind on that subject even after rising. Saint Teresa strongly insists on a determined will to persevere in prayer despite temptations, troubles, and aridity. And again, all the authors say that no matter what difficulties you're having, don't stop. Right? Don't stop meditating. So just continue and persevere is the way to go. They all say that. She gives 3 reasons. 1, God deserves our time. 2, the devil fears nothing so much as a resolute soul, whereas he will tempt and agitate a soul which is weak in its resolve to persevere. See, so if the devil detects weakness in you, a weak soul that will not persevere, he presses. Whereas if you're resolute, he doesn't go near you. She ought to know. If anybody is a doctor of the spiritual life, she is. 3, we combat much more generously when we are resolved never to yield. So even a soldier in battle battles more generously if he is resolved never to yield. That's Saint Teresa of Avila. Okay, now some causes of failure in mental prayer. The first is distractions. Some distractions come from the devil. The devil is aware of how valuable mental prayer is in the spiritual life and therefore tries his utmost to destroy it. The reason is that he can in no way place an obstacle to its good effects as he can in the case of other virtues and good works. See, it will necessarily have its good effect, but he can place obstacles in your other virtues by, for example, inspiring you to pride in them, or he can turn the virtue into a vice in a way. He can't do that with mental prayer. It will have its effect. He can turn almost all good that we do into a form of vanity. That's very true. So priests become vain about how they preach or how they run the parish, and they might do a very good job in both of those things, or how they perform the liturgy, or how they sing, or all sorts of things, how they built the church. It's all sorts. All of those things are sources of pride and vanity in priests. How much money they raised, and all of those things are good, you see. But the devil can turn that to evil. How many souls he has converted from sin and evil can be a source of vanity. Vanity goes very easily with the priesthood because you are in a position of importance with regard to the lay people. They venerate you, and they should. But that can easily, in the proper sense, venerate you as a representative of God and a person who is very important in their lives. And they should do that. But the danger is that you do not reflect any good that you do to God, and that you think of yourself as the source of the good that you do, or whatever talents you have, or anything else, and that you become a little pompous king. It happens. You have to watch that. The devil, consequently, will try everything to turn our mind from God. And this he will do by means of bad memories or stupid memories. So, memories of past sins, for example, or stupid things. Things that have no sense even to be thinking about. Like who's going to win the soccer game or something like that. Or with evil images. Severe temptations. It's always a sign of the devil if temptations to impurity come during prayer. Always a sign of the devil. And by these disturbances, he hopes to convince us that we cannot do mental prayer. That's the goal. That we're failures in mental prayer. I can't do it. For other people can do it, I can't do it. You can never give in to that thought. Now, some distractions, on the other hand, come from ourselves. So the first in that category are distractions due to levity, lightness. This means that we exercise no discipline over our imagination and mind, but permit it to go in any direction it pleases. Notice, permit it. That means it's a voluntary distraction. Your mind might wander involuntarily. Typically, your mind wanders when you start making associations of things. You think of one thing, and then that associates with another and another and another, and then it just moves on to various things. Some people have an easier time disciplining their mind to keep on one thing than others do. Or we can have distractions due to employments. This is often the source of distraction, particularly if we are excessively devoted to these employments. You see, where you become, in the case of a priest, where you're so attached to your worldly duties of state, not only that you do them, you're attached to them, or that you perform them, but you're attached to them as a type of love, as treating the priesthood almost like a business. This is my project, so I've got this project and this project, and where your heart is in them excessively, where they're not just a burden for you that you have to do, but where your heart is in them excessively because all of those things are you. See, it's rooted in pride. This is could be anything. It could be the decoration of the church. It could be, building something. It could be anything at all. Taking care of the finances, which is all part of duties of state in life. But you can become attached. Your heart can be there rather than in the sanctuary, let's say. And we can have distractions due to weakness. Mental prayer requires a great effort. It's a lot of work. The truths of the faith are supernatural and at times require great sacrifices. And as a result, there is no natural attraction from the soul, which by nature seeks the easy good. See, so it's effort. Prayer is effort. In other words, the soul is weak in the pursuit of the difficult good. That's the result of original sin. The intellect is darkened with regard to the knowledge of the truth, and the intellect and the will is weakened with regard to the pursuit of the good, and especially the difficult good. Your better goods are those that are difficult. Always do things the hard way, by the way. If there's an easy way and a hard way, do it the hard way. Just remember that. You'll be happy in the end. Also, we can have distractions. Distractions are culpable if they are deliberately entertained or voluntary in cause. So, something can be voluntary in cause. where you know that by doing something, you will sin as a result of it. An example is somebody who might read a dirty book or a dirty magazine before retiring and then has an impure dream as a result of it. That's known as voluntary in cause. So that would have to be confessed. So, or watching a dirty movie, and then that's voluntary in cause. See, the dream itself is not voluntary, but it's voluntary in cause. So if you're driving at let's say 120 miles an hour in the fog, and you have an accident, that's voluntary in cause. The accident is an accident. I mean, you don't intend it, but it's foreseeable by any rational person that driving 120 miles an hour in the fog would be dangerous. So you run somebody over, you kill them. That's voluntary in cause. You learn that in moral theology. So distractions can be voluntary in cause, but they are not culpable if the cause was necessary or if there is an effort to bring the mind back once the distraction is perceived. So you could have posited voluntary causes by necessity, and so there's no culpability there. So let's say the toilet backs up and there's a big mess in the bathroom, okay? And you have to clean that up before going to meditate. All right, that's a necessary distraction. And you had to do it, but it was necessary. So that's a necessary distraction, which will cause a distraction during your meditation. That's just an example. So it's not culpable because it's necessary. Any necessity regarding duties of state in life always make inculpable any kind of missing something or something like this, being distracted. That duties of state in life are very, very important and will dispense you even from certain obligations of prayer. Because ultimately they pertain to charity. If there is, in order to be dispensed from certain obligations of prayer, there must be an exchange with charity. It's a general principle. So certain duties of state in life occupy too much time. For this reason, we should strive to remove the causes of distraction. These causes could be excessive affections for some creatures, food, excessive devotion to our employments and duties, which is easily a form of pride. You have to watch that because it goes under the guise of being dutiful to one's duties of state in life. In other words, the pride will always tend to turn a vice into a virtue. See, I'm there. I'm hands-on. So and therefore, but you love too much. You, as I said, your business, so to speak. You love it too much because it's you. It's your activity, your effort. It's like your child. And so the your devotion to employments and duties can easily be a form of pride. But it will go under the guise of being dutiful. It's very subtle. Pride is a very, very subtle thing, and it's in most cases a venial sin, but it easily leads to mortal sin. Nevertheless, however voluntary the cause should be, the cause is not culpable if we withdraw our consent to it. So, sin is always in the will. It's always in consent. So if you withdraw your consent from the voluntary cause, it is not culpable. So let me just finish this section. Here are some remedies for distractions. The first is to humble yourself in God's presence. Two, to bring yourselves back to the subject of prayer, even if it is 1,000 times. We may call upon God's help in resisting temptation, and we should despise temptations inasmuch as we should not permit them to trouble us. That's precisely what the devil wants, is to disturb the soul. So you have to despise. That means have contempt for the devil and have contempt for anything that is drawing you away from God. And third, we should not examine excessively the source of the distractions, because that could be a distraction itself.